So I had this thought about attention, and it comes from, there's been a bunch of D&D channels where they've talked about lower view counts or less people finding their videos, and this happens a lot on YouTube, and I think it's consistent, but also an increase in waves, and then obviously YouTube does stuff on the background that then, precipitates another rise in this kind of discussion. But people with D&D channels seem particularly concerned about it, and I think it's because partly interest has waned in Dungeons and Dragons in comparison to the highs of 2020 and 2021, or basically all the way from 2016 up until that point, right? We're not on an upswing for Dungeons and Dragons or TTRPGs in general. So people that have focused their channel on that, find it difficult because, either they've got to branch out into other stuff, but then their entire channel has been going on for years and it's been focused on one thing and it's difficult to break the mold. But it's not just Dungeons and Dragons YouTubers. Other people have also begun talking about views going down. And this is kind of coinciding with, I guess, Twitch getting rid of bots, right? A big bot wave, which is obliterated on Twitch. And so people think that it's possible something similar happened on YouTube. But I was just recently watching a Linus Tech Tip video in which they were investigating stuff and showing their own internal data and other data that they had gotten from people they were conversing with that were other YouTubers. And it seems to be that the like ratios have increased because the likes have stayed relatively the same, even if the views have gone down, and therefore the ratio would increase. And then also the CPM ratio, the click-through rate ratio is also skyrocketing because, again, they seem to be making the same amount of money that they would normally make on a video, even though it has far less views. So YouTube seems to be still counting these disappearing views, but they may be coming from other sources that YouTube doesn't necessarily think are as legitimate as, the kind of attention views. So maybe the revenue will decrease once YouTube makes a determination about whether these views are legitimate click-throughs that lead to ad revenue, right? So I don't really know. I don't investigate the stuff. I don't have the data. I'm a tiny YouTuber. There's also the discussion that tiny YouTubers are getting a little bit of a bump from YouTube because it needs to stay relevant, and older YouTubers have started to move off the platform, retire or do other things, or post less and that kind of stuff. And also maybe their content is less, it doesn't have the same hype that it used to. And in fact, now YouTube has a hype function, which I noticed the other day. I don't see it on my own videos as far as I can tell, because it wouldn't make sense for me to see it on my own videos, but I did see it on someone else's video. And it's when you're on a phone. I don't know whether the hype function is on a PC. I haven't seen that yet. But on a phone, if you look below the video and you see where the comments are, used to be that comment would always be static, and about a year or two ago that started to update as it got through the video. When people comment on specific points in the video, that comment would show up at that point in the video. So also now, in whatever comment is showing at that point, you can swipe to the left, and then you'll get another option. Instead of the comment, it'll allow you to hype the video for, I don't know whether this is for all YouTubers or smaller YouTubers or what, but it lets, I guess you're just basically alerting YouTube, this is a hot video, this is something new, this is something interesting, this is something people should see, right? Which normally would be covered by you sharing it on a social network, right? That is how I would view hype. People are sharing this stuff, but maybe, I don't know, maybe sharing has become banal now, or banal, or however you pronounce that. I don't know, but the point is that we're in this world now where attention is noticed, right? What people are giving their attention to is discussed by almost everybody at this point in time, whether they're explicitly discussing it in those terms or whether they're just generally speaking about the same concept, right? What, when people are talking about, influencers on Instagram or, influencers on Twitter or someone with a large following on Facebook or YouTube or whatever, they're talking about attention. And when people are talking about their declining views, they're talking about a lack of attention. And a lot of people don't understand that the algorithm is really just attention. So where is, are people, focusing their attention? What do they want to, basically view? What do they want to see? What do they want to know? What do they want to understand? Right? And this attention shifts to different subjects. So I don't know what people these days, like if someone was very, they were very attentive to Dungeons and Dragons videos or Magic the Gathering videos. And they have now moved on to something else. And if it's large groups of people, what are the other things that they're now interested in when they're no longer interested in Dungeons and Dragons and Magic the Gathering or whatever it is, right? And then you look at, Linus Tech Tips. They're a great channel, but they mentioned a video that we're proud of, a hidden desk video. And I used to love those Linus Tech Tip videos where he made new furniture with a computer inside and, had, all the layout and you could see it through the glass and that kind of stuff. Those were great, but I don't know that I'm interested in those videos anymore. So I don't know what this hidden desk video is, but I probably won't watch it, right? And there was a time when I used to watch Linus Tech Tips several times a week, but now it's pretty much only when they're on the Land Show and they're talking about declining views or other, technical things that are going on with YouTube or some controversies around social networks like Twitch and stuff like that, right? Other than that, I'm not really interested in most of the stuff that Linus Tech Tips puts out. And not to say that it's not good. It's just that I'm not interested in those things anymore. I saw a bunch of that stuff back in 2016, 2017. I watched a lot of Linus Tech Tips. And yes, there might be new graphics cards that I'm missing out on, but I'm not going to buy them. So I don't need to know about them, right? And I think a lot of people think that way. And you look at Magic the Gathering and its release schedule, and we're at this point where, Edge of Eternities has been out for under a month, I think. And now Spider-Man is coming out. And all anyone really is talking about is Spider-Man and Avatar. And they themselves have stopped giving any attention to Edge of Eternity. So why would Wizards of the Coast give attention to Edge of Eternities? Now, from a long-term view, I would say it's good to still keep the Eye of Sauron on Edge of Eternities and continue the discussion of Edge of Eternities and people involved with that until Spider-Man comes out. But what do I know? I'm not what's marketer, a PR person, an attention manipulator. I don't know. So I don't know whether that's the right answer. That's just kind of what I would prefer. I like to percolate my attention on certain things and then move on to the next thing. And I don't like going back. So I guess I don't know whether this video will get any attention, but if it does, let me know in the comments below. Have a good day.